Good afternoon and happy 2025. This is Veronica Nye, Senior Economist at TFI, with our first video of the new year. Thanks for joining in. Today we're going to talk about a topic that on the surface might not make a lot of sense, but I think we can make the connection. Since 2022, in the popular media, we've been talking about an outbreak of high-path avian influenza. The first outbreak in a commercial flock was in February 2022, and really we haven't seen the eradication of that outbreak since then, and we're continuing to see outbreaks. Now, we typically tend to see more outbreaks in the spring and the fall as wild birds make their migration north and south. So how does this relate at all to fertilizer? Well, according to the 2022 Census of Agriculture, over 26% of all farms that applied some sort of commercial fertilizer or manure or chemical of nutrition of some sort applied fertilizer to their acres. That's over 262 million acres in the United States that received manure as a nutrition source. And a lot of that manure is poultry litter, which is obviously the droppings that come from birds that are in commercial confinement. So as we start thinking about a potential outbreak of high-path avian influenza, of course that has an impact on the grower who is raising those animals, but there's also downstream impacts. So if you have an outbreak of high-path avian influenza, oftentimes you're banned from selling or disposing of litter that comes from that operation. So all of those growers who are dependent on that litter then are somewhat left in a lurch and have to find a nutrition source for their land in a different form. So, for example, there was in the last 30 days, there was an outbreak of high-path avian influenza in a commercial poultry flock in Delaware. Delaware is a large poultry state. The litter from those poultry operations are utilized not only in the state of Delaware, but also in surrounding states. So earlier this week, I was with some corn growers in Maryland, and they were sharing with me that there's a 30-day ban on the movement of poultry litter out of Delaware, and it hopes to try to help limit the spread of high-path avian influenza. So as we're thinking about this, and we're thinking about the spring and that we tend to see more movement of birds and uptick in high-path avian influenza cases, there's certainly something for the fertilizer industry to keep an eye on those outbreaks, because it could potentially mean that growers who typically utilize poultry litter might be in the market for commercial fertilizer as a substitute. So this feels a little bit like 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, which is the idea that any two people on earth are only within 6 steps of acquaintance of one another, but truly agriculture is all interconnected. So keep an eye on USDA's Animal Plant Health and Inspection Service website. They have a very up-to-date listing of outbreaks of high-path avian influenza, and just keep that sort of in the back of your mind as we go into the spring planting season, that there are other things at play here. So thanks very much. Look forward to continuing the series and start talking about fertilizer again week after week and the interesting things that happen in our industry. Thanks very much.